Usually I advise enterprises, like if event executives come to me, I ask them, what is that one burning problem in your business that you want to solve? You wanted to solve yesterday. What is that problem that if you take to your boss, they will be ready to fund that problem, to solve that problem, and then take that problem, work backwards, see what kind of data sets you need, what are the sources that you need to collect data from to serve their use case. Then just work on that for the whole layer, to sort out the data for that, make sure that the data is of quality, set up the teams around it, assign ownership to who will be owning the data, who will be looking after the quality, who will be publishing the data, and things like that. Then create the AI layer. If you need RAG for that, then invest in a vector database or use an open source vector database, whatever suits for that particular choice, and then start building small.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Latency and Latte. Today I am joined by Sandipan Bhaumik, Principal Analytics Solutions Architect at AWS. Sandipan helps some of the biggest enterprises across EMEA cut through the AI hype and actually deliver real outcomes. He is also the force behind Agent Build AI, a fast-growing community where people learn by building AI agents together, not just watching from the sidelines. We are going to dive into the realities of enterprise AI, trust, and what it really takes to move from buzzwords to results. Gonna Hi, Sandipan. Welcome to Latency and Latte.
Thank you for having me, Renika.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. You are at AWS now, leading AI strategy, but I'm guessing you didn't start out thinking I'll be the guy who helps enterprises cut through AI noise. So, what's been your path here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. I never thought about that. In fact, far from that actually. So I started as a database administrator uh, in application support, which allowed me to work a lot with users. Users being my customers who were in IT in their company, and I used to work a lot with them, um, with basically fixing database things, and that gave me a very good insight on how businesses get affected
Mm-hmm.
even with small problems like backup did not happen, and what repercussions that could have in a business sense, right? And that got me curious into thinking, oh, so how does this small glitches in tech affect business outcomes? That curiosity led me to different projects in terms of looking into how business intelligence works for businesses. How do you collect data to
Mm-hmm.
deliver a business outcome, et cetera, right? And that also led me to different client side projects where I would sit with customers and users and see day to day operations and see how companies work.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of the turning point for me was actually realizing that tech is just 20% of all the problems. It's mainly the people, the culture, and how teams operate together that causes a lot of problems.
Right.
From then, really started focusing, although being in a technical role, I really started focusing on how my work in tech affects business and how it connects to people.
Mm-hmm.
I always had that people lens in me while looking into different things. So now when I work in AWS with customers in data and AI space, that is that is the majority of the thing that I do, is especially in strategy, like thinking about how you can build a data driven culture within the organization, working with executives to help them understand that tech decisions that they make will kind of connect to people, and then what sort of decisions they need to make with people so that they can work with tech, and cutting through all of the noise that you get in AI, especially nowadays, and giving them the real picture on how things would work in terms of delivering business outcome for them.
100%. Things are changing super fast from past few months, I would say. And that's super interesting, starting from a DBA and now you are working as a principal solution architect at AWS. So, do you feel like having that mix of technical depth and business context is what lets you cut through hype? Because I notice a lot of AI folks, either they go super research heavy or super strategy heavy, probably. So, and that is a gap I feel where things fail. So, what do you think about it?
That's true. I think especially in the AI space, we need more people who can sit between research and business outcomes,
Hmm.
and And you will see it's happening a lot now because even the big AI labs are coming up with roles. You will see there is a role called forward deployed engineer, or
Mhm.
it's a concept from Palantir, like forward deployed engineering teams, and where they are like basically cross functional teams that are focused on outcomes for the businesses. Um, and I feel like especially in AI, if you're working in data and AI, is really important to connect every problem to the business problem rather than just looking at from the technical lens. And I try my best to, whenever I'm, because being in a technical role is very easy to get into the tech nitty
Correct.
gritties, right, and forget the business side of it. So yeah, I at least try to maintain that balance. As an architect, you need to be in the business floor as well as the engineering floor, and ride that elevator.
Absolutely. And top of that, you are building agentbuild.ai, where there's community, where people don't just talk about AI, but they build it. So that makes a lot of sense here. And I totally see that where we need to, we are seeing a lot of research side and the business side amalgamation, that thing. And in my own work, I have noticed the magic happens when you translate tech into outcomes, especially when you keep business stakeholders in mind. Otherwise, it's just like a plain shiny demos where you're talking about the tech and non-tech audience are just sitting down and they are not grasping it. So yeah, I have always found it interesting that in AI, the career paths are non-linear. Some come from hardcore infra, or some from strategy, some from research side. That was what makes the field so rich. Do you need any? Do you think we need any translators at the intersection here?
Yes, you need translators. Now, I don't know if there's a formal role for it. Now, normally, what I see is some technical people are business aware, like they bring that lens with them, and I think they tend to shine in this space as well. And
Hmm.
then there would be some business people who know the tech, not a depth, but they would understand how tech works.
Hmm.
So I think I don't I haven't come across a specific I mean, there are, like, so basically my personal belief is that architects, when they go to architects with enough experience, basically
Hmm.
they they should be responsible for connecting whatever
Right.
technical layer they build with the business layer.
Hmm.
So if there had to be a formal role for it, I think the architects should be the translators.
Great. So maybe the person who can explain latency targets matter just as much as the model choices, probably. How does that?
I mean, if latency matters, why does it matter for the business? Why do we need a
Mhm.
10-millisecond response time on my AI inference? Uh, what kind of business implication does it have? What happens if it is a, I don't know, 60 milliseconds in place of 10 milliseconds, or even a second, right? So that those are the things that I think an architect needs to understand and answer.
Right. Makes sense. And I love the phrase in your bio where you say cut through the noise and actually deliver outcomes.
Yeah.
So, because right now everyone is excited about those, chat GPT demos, and there are a lot of other tools also coming up. So, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, Claude 4.5 has come up, and they say it's a best coding tool. Until reality hits, what's the most common wake up call you see with enterprises?
Uh, so so obviously, there is a lot of noise, and it's not only with AI. Like every new technology will have some sort of a noisy. We have seen it with the cloud, the blockchain, and big data, etc., etc. Every time there's something new and there's noise, and then the noise kind of settles down. Then the as people learn more, businesses learn more, they understand the real use cases, and that's when the noise goes away, and then people are actually, so you see there's no noise with blockchain nowadays,
Yeah.
unless Trump announces something.
Yeah.
but but other than that, there's still work going on.
Yeah.
There are like real good technologies built on the blockchain, but you would
Yeah.
not hear much of it. That will happen with AI eventually, right? I think one of the things that enterprises see with all of these models coming up every now and then, is uh, you know uh, one thing you need to understand is not every model will be the best model for every use case. So there will be like different models have got different, um, they perform better in different use cases.
Right.
And it also depends on what sort of data, what sort of latency, and et cetera, right? So all of these different factors come in.
Hmm.
I see a lot of enterprises rely on the standardized benchmarks
Hmm.
that the model providers provide, but I see them getting shocked when they see the benchmarks that are available in the internet, and the standardized benchmarks do not actually align when they test the same models with their own data. So it completely changes, right? So that's one of the things that I talk to customers a lot, to that, you need to evaluate your solution, your AI, or evaluate the models against your data, which is really important.
Right, makes sense. When things get real, we ask these questions: how do you ground this enterprise data, or how do you manage latency at scale? Things start getting real. Also, have started thinking that a demo is kind of a spark, but the scaling is a grind, and most companies underestimate that grind. What do you think
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. I mean, see, demos, I feel demos are important to communicate the vision and communicate a solution, because in my, I, I, I have many ideas, right? And when, in my experience, in order to buy in executive sponsorship for a particular idea or get some project signed off,
Hmm.
a demo has always worked to show the vision rather than just writing documents or presenting in slides or just talking about it. But I think what the demo needs to support is what it needs to scale,
Hmm.
and what is the gap between demo and production, so that you can create a roadmap out of it. With AI, obviously, because everyone thinks AI is magic, so the demos look like magic. But
Yeah.
that is just for one user on the laptop showing the demo. But when you want to scale it to 100,000 users, then that's where the real grind is.
Hmm.
I think, see, executives are not unaware of this fact, right? So everyone understands that if you want to scale something, there is a lot of work to be put in. But it's just that uh, looks like magic, so everyone gets excited with demos, right? And it's very good to share on social media. You get a lot of engagement with shiny demos, so that's why they shine in. But if you go into the field, work
Hmm.
with real companies, you will see executives and leaders and technical professionals. They all understand
Yeah.
that, yeah, that's the demo, and the production story is going to be totally different.
Absolutely. And let's talk about data readiness here. That is one of the pillar. When executive call leaders come to you and they're wanting AI magic, as we are talking about it. So, what percentage actually have their data sorted?
Ah, so I think it's hard to put a number to it, but the percentage is really low, and it's not because no one knows that AI needs good data. Everyone understands that, like,
Yeah.
for AI to perform well, you need good quality data.
Hmm.
The problem here is it's really hard to produce good quality data in an enterprise at scale on a day-to-day basis, because it's not that technology is not there. The technology is present. It's the
Right.
people and the culture and how you operate as an organization that matters a lot. If you
Hmm.
want to produce really good quality data on a daily basis, you need to have certain mindset of working with data.
Hmm.
And for most businesses, data is not their main business, right? So uh, they have got tons of other things to do, and data only is a part of it. Unless you are a data business,
Right.
it's really difficult for you to bring your people and your culture and mindset
Hmm.
towards making decisions that are driven on data and having that literacy in their organization. If you don't see the return on investment, you don't want to actually invest on it. What I've
Hmm.
observed though, but is because AI now touches every kind of business, and AI is kind of becoming a core part of the customer engagement with businesses. A lot of businesses are paying more attention to data, and that means that you will see a lot more funding going into sorting out the data foundation,
Yeah.
because AI is kind of driving it.
Absolutely. Even there is a data, I believe it's sitting in the silos, or it's not labeled the right way. And the other day I was reading about traditional RAG, where we have to create a pipeline, data ingestion pipeline, and then there is a retrieval pipeline. So we need to chunk those labeled, unlabeled data. And I have seen enterprises actually invest in things like vector databases because, as you said, they are spending a lot of money into delivering those data and cleaning those data. So things like vector databases or a feature stores upfront. So what do you think about here? I mean, in my experience, data readiness is like the iceberg, and because the model gets all attention, but the data engineer is what makes or breaks it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, a lot of data engineers are thinking how they can switch to AI or they want to become AI engineers. And because I'm running the community, where some people approach to me and
Mhm.
they ask, how can we switch to AI? Because I'm a data engineer. I'm like, why are you even thinking about switching to AI? Because you are the you are more important. Because
Exactly, the
it's
backbone.
just it's just the noise and the hype that is
Yeah.
causing you to believe that
Yeah.
you need to move to AI, but just do what you're doing, and that's what is more important. And I think the industry understands it, so you will see their stats where big data engineers are much more valuable
Yeah.
in terms of the future trends and things like that. There were some reports that came up recently, right? Um, but I think in terms of using vector databases or investing in data foundation for an organization, inevitably they need to do it if they want right outcomes for AI. It's about how they do it, because I do see that some businesses would go and randomly invest in a vector database without understanding
Yeah.
what they want to do with it. Because it's one thing to create a RAG solution for one use case and invest in a vector database, and it's another thing to have an operational strategy around retrieval augmented generation for I don't know, for foreseeable 10, 20 years, or for the next decade, right? Well, till however long something else doesn't come up to replace RAG. But um, you know, uh, the right way I think to do it is,
Mhm.
there are different phases on how you approach within enterprises in implementing these things. So what I've learned is that obviously you cannot really wait to sort out the whole data foundation before implementing AI, because that doesn't really work out, because this data foundation sorting out data foundation is a multi-year task. The way you do it is take one slice of data, and whatever else, by user application. If you think about the iceberg and take one slice, and that slice could be probably a particular use case that pick up. Usually I advise enterprises, like, if when executives come to me, I ask them, what is that one burning problem in your business that you want to solve, you wanted to solve yesterday? What is that problem that if you take to your boss, they will be ready to fund that problem, to solve that problem? And then take that problem, work backwards, see what kind of data sets you need, what are the sources that you need to collect data from to serve that use case. Then just work on that for the whole layer. So sort out the data for that, make sure that the data is of quality, set up the teams around it,
Yeah.
assign ownership to who will be owning the data, who will be looking after the quality, who will be publishing the data, and things like that. Then create the AI layer. If you need RAG for that, then invest in a vector database or use a open source vector database, whatever suits for that particular choice. And then start building small. And when you start small, you lay out that foundation, then you can scale on top of it, and then you can start onboarding other use cases. Right. I think that's the safest way to go about it. And as they learn more, they understand that looking at a demo is totally different to how you implement it for production.
Mhm.
And then they learn from it, then they can think for the long term on what sort of strategies they need to come up with for RAG or for any other use cases.
Right, right. 80% of enterprises AI is more about data plumbing here, where schema hygiene, metadata, and pipelines, all the unhygienic kind of work. Let's talk about prompt injection. I saw your post about prompt firewalls, right? That whole master key versus meeting room analogy. So, how often are you actually seeing prompt injection at tracks? Is it still mostly theoretical, or the enterprise getting burnt here?
So I have seen many.
Mm.
The thing is that most of them, because when businesses start implementing this stuff, they actually do prompt injection tests nowadays. So you will see a lot of these injection happening in the test testing phase, because
Mhm.
no enterprises will basically, no business will put out something that's totally vulnerable
Mhm.
to to prompt injection.
Mhm.
But then you will also see, there are some public stories around someone hacked Microsoft's Copilot something using a. I remember seeing this in the news a couple of months ago,
Mhm.
where someone tried to do something with Microsoft Copilot, and it was not like an intention. So someone did it on intention, but they
Mhm.
did it with good purpose. Like they wanted to inform them that this is happening, right? There have been definitely some prompt injection attacks that came up in the news. Mostly the ones that I have seen are basically in testing phase, because most of the enterprises now test these things. I'm sure that there will be some which
Mhm.
happen in production, not come up in the news, because a lot of these things get caught with the monitoring tools and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think prompt injection is really really valid. When I say valid, like it's a really popular way of breaking AI systems, and you can really easily do that. Trick an AI system if you wanted to do it. And even in my work, I've seen that it gets a lot of attention from enterprises, because no one wants their AI to be hacked by
Yeah.
prompt, because anyone can do it, right?
Right, right. Do you think we will eventually need standardized AI firewalls the same way we have for web apps?
There will be, yeah. So there is a concept of prompt firewall that you can build, and it's just for prompts, but you can actually put guardrails around. If you can call it anything, but right now there are security layers being built. If you think about users interacting with the AI system,
Mhm.
so there is one security layer where you put it between the AI system and the user, but then there's also the AI system interacting with tools internally, and databases and other stuff. And that needs another sort of security layer, so that the AI doesn't do the wrong thing in the database, like taking out a customer's data and giving it back to the user that the user is not supposed to look at, or deleting 400 databases that Replit did once.
Yeah.
So there are these different layers that you need to think about in terms of security, on where you need to put those walls. Yeah, I mean, in a blanket term, you can call whatever, AI firewall,
Yeah.
but it, to be honest, it's the same sort of security principles you would put in any system engineering use case, so that the same concept gets applied in AI. Yeah, there might be some differences in terms of, oh, now you have prompts for generative AI, so that means you need to think about how you classify what users ask. And it's not basically a SQL query, it's an English language, and then you have to figure out whether that language, or some use of word in that language, might create something that is not secure for running in your SQL database, right? So yeah, there are some new things, but the underlying concepts are fundamentally the same in terms of applying security.
100%. I believe it's an underestimate prompt injection because until we put LLM into production or suddenly realize their systems can be socially engineered. And earlier we had, I believe, SQL injection sounded very theoretical too, but until it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And I believe prompt injections feels like we are at the same very early stage in terms of having
Yeah.
those drills.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have got pen testers, like penetration testing for every system, right? So you'd have them for AI systems as well.
Let's talk about trust in AI systems. Trust is such a loaded word in AI, because beyond security, what makes an AI system trustworthy in your world? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so trust is paramount in AI system, because we humans, we tend to forgive humans, but we don't forgive AI, right? So I wrote a blog about it a few weeks ago around the Taco Bell fiasco that happened, right? So where someone went to the drive-through in Taco Bell, and I think they tried to demonstrate how AI does
Mhm.
things, but basically the AI ended up ordering 18,000 cups of water.
Okay.
Now, if you think about it, I have been to drive-throughs many times, and at least through 3 or 4 times I've been served the wrong order. So they
Yeah.
would either serve me the wrong drink or serve me the wrong whatever, right? It never, and I'm sure that it happens to most of us. And
Mhm.
every day there might be thousands of errors humans are making in the drive-throughs, but they don't make it to the news, because we are forgiving. We just say sorry, and then they just change the order, and all of those things happen, right? But when it comes to AI,
Mhm.
it makes the news, because it's human nature, and it's It's because a lot of us are saying that AI is going to solve whatever, cure cancer and all of these things, but it cannot do the basic stuff.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a news, right? But curing cancer, using AI in curing cancer is a different topic than AI serving you the wrong order, right? These are all
Yeah.
different. People don't get that. But the thing is, I think the crux of the matter is that if AI makes one mistake for
Yeah.
your customer, then you are breaking that customer's trust, which is very, and if it makes through the news, it's a very, very bad reputational implication for your brand.
True.
So trust is really important, and especially in customer facing systems, always I think my philosophy in building AI systems is being trust led, which means that thinking about how you evaluate AI systems and how you observe, how you explain how the AI makes decisions and things like that. So you should have all of those things in place before you even think about how to productionize it for the customer, take it to the customer and things like that. And one of the basic questions I ask with is to decide whether you actually need to solve a problem with AI, because you can still have a person serving a drink to your customer. You don't need AI for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can use AI somewhere else where it optimizes the processes of how you make the drink better by, I don't know, using different combinations of ingredients and stuff like that.
We can use it back end.
Yeah. So again, do you really want AI robot to serve your customer or, whatever, right? So there are, you can have a lot of debate on where
Yeah.
AI takes the lead in a workflow or a business process and where a human takes the lead. And I think it's the best for the business to assess it thoroughly on where AI and humans play a role in the customer's business process, or in the business process where a customer is involved.
Mhm. Yeah. So do you think enterprises should lean on RAG pipelines with audit trails? There should be some guardrails as the default versus black box prompting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean the regulators ask for audit trails now. I mean, there is no other choice. Like if you look at the EU AI Act, right? So there are certain acts that that ask you to mandate producing the explainability
Right.
behind, basically explaining the decisions that the AI make, and it's inevitable. Like this is something that will happen. Like you need to produce audits on
Right.
how decisions are being made, and to be able to explain what the AI did, why it took a decision on, I don't know, approving mortgages if it does that, which is, by the way, is a high risk thing under EU AI Act. But you know, any use case where AI takes the charge, there should be a principle of explaining why AI took a decision.
Absolutely. Now, let's shift gear here about agentbuild.ai. You are building this community where people don't just talk about AI, but build it. So, Agent Build is interesting because it's about building and learning together, not just consuming. So, from what you have seen, that happens differently when people actually build versus they just watch tutorials and take some courses. What is the difference here?
Yeah, I mean, so you think about it, right? So let's say you want to learn how to make lasagna, or I don't know, Hyderabadi chicken dum biryani, right?
Yeah.
And think about you sitting and watching a YouTube video
Yeah.
on making this versus you actually making it in the kitchen with some of your friends or family members, sharing recipes, or asking about different things, trying to solve problems, like trying to figure out, okay, how much of this ingredient I should be putting in and things like that, right? And you instantly know that which one is going to be a more enjoyable experience and from which experience you're going to learn, right? And the same applies to this. So to learning AI, I feel a lot we focus a lot on looking at GitHub repos
Mhm.
and reading some blogs and watching YouTube videos. We watch video after video after video. We
Yeah.
watch podcasts and all of these things.
Mhm.
I'm not discounting them. They're important. But if you're not doing anything in parallel, then it's of no value, because just watching gives you this, what I call, like, the illusion of competence, right? So it's basically you think that, oh, you've done something, right? And you have actually learned something, but it's pretty shallow. The moment you want to go and do something, it's not going to work. Whereas if you try to do something and you get stuck and you discuss with some other people and see how others are solving the similar problems, and When you get stuck, you then go and watch a video or a tutorial and see how to get unstuck from that problem. That's where you actually learn something new. That's where you can actually connect the dots that, hey, okay, this happened. So if we do this, then I can solve my problem that way. That's much better learning experience. And when you do that in a group, especially in a group of people who come from different backgrounds and different roles, that's much more enjoyable because now you are sharing experiences and also getting different perspectives of how people look at the same problem in different ways, and that expands your horizon of learning. And I think that's much better and faster way to learn.
Yeah, I again, I loved your analogy where you're explaining things about the recipes and how you are connected with the learnings. But in SF also, actually, a lot of hackathons are happening, and it's like a lot of new companies, LangChain, Llama Index, they're coming up organizing hackathons. It's about putting together various background people, and you can just build whatever with the help of AI. You can build an app. I believe when you're doing it hands on, it's a great. Do you see people gravitating towards particular stacks here or customer orchestration? Because I always feel like building agents forces you to think about the state orchestration more, which is a whole different, ball game than prompts.
Yes. So, I mean, I think every tool or technology has got its own
Works.
fitness, I would say, right, or purpose, right? So they fit in different ways. If you compare LangChain with Crew and then with N8N, and all of them are orchestrators, but they have got different personas interacting or different like people from different backgrounds. So there's low code, no code, and then there's like easy coding in Python, and then there's like some a bit more complex, but you get much more control and things like that, right? So every when people come up with technology and they build the technology and build the tool, they know that they have got that market, that ideal customer profile who will be using them. What we tend to do is we look at all of these things and say, oh, which one should we use? Right now you will scroll through LinkedIn and you'll see some demos on LangChain, someone doing on something else, someone doing Creo, someone doing anything, and you're like, okay, I have to try it. And then you will end up trying all of them maybe in the single day, and you get overwhelmed, and all of these things happen, right? I think in agent building, what really is beneficial is starting by thinking about the primitives. So when I say primitives, it's basically looking at what are the components in an agent, right? So you've got the LLM, you've got the planning component, you've got the tool use component, you've got the memory component, you've got inputs and outputs and things like that. And you basically focus on each of these components and understand how they work, and then understand how they work together in one single agent. And once you have enough clarity, then you think about how different agents stitch together to an orchestration framework. And then what that does is once you understand the in and out of an agent, it becomes much more easier to stitch different agents into single workflow. Then you just choose which workflow you're comfortable with or whatever is best for that particular use case. I come from that mentality where I don't want to call out single product or single tool, because that's what I try to do with my customers and others, is that tell them forget about tools and technology. Tell me what is the problem you want to solve, and how would you do it if you did not have AI, if you did not have software? How do you solve that problem, right? And then they will come up with different analogies. Okay, this is how we will do it. And then we break down that problem into smaller problems, and then we focus about, okay, now let's think about how we use technology to solve this problem, right? I
Right.
think that way you kind of did, because you see this market is crowded with
Yeah.
tools, and every other day you will hear a new company coming up with some tool that does the same thing, or and then you end up thinking, okay, which one do I use? And my job being in AWS as well as outside AWS is basically explaining to my customers which technology is best for their use case.
Right.
and and strangely enough, I find myself stripping technology totally out of the discussion and talking about things that where technology doesn't involve, and then coming back to it, which makes it much more clear.
100%, where we are just share talking about problem statement here and then moving
Yeah.
to a solution, a software based solution. You're debugging your own agent that teaches you more about orchestration, memory, and any slide deck ever could. And almost like a DevOps culture where you don't just read about CI/CD, you have to break a pipeline and just take it from there, how you are going to fix it. Yeah.
Fundamentals are always same, right? So whatever the technology is, like
Yeah.
if you are, so by the way, I just wanted to talk about it. Is I see a lot of technical professionals are very tensed about, oh, AI is now here, it will take our jobs, and what do we do and things like that. And again, they talk about technology and this all of these different models and which one do I use, which one do I learn and things like that. And I all end up telling them that what do you know?
Yeah.
The fundamentals are still. If you are a DevOps engineer today, your
Hmm.
fundamentals, take those, understand from first principles on how you do your job, break it down and see where AI applies, right? And learn that piece. You don't have to learn AI from scratch, or you don't have to go and learn machine learning now. You don't have to learn deep learning. Just see how AI is going to change your role. Which part of your role is AI going to replace, or AI going to play a part? Then just learn that, because all you need to do is learn to use that tool, right? Nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And now everyone is building agents now with the help of different tools. But from your architecture perspective, what actually makes a good agent here?
So again, when you talk about architecture, right, and when you talk about enterprise workflows, I don't think one single agent can solve anything, right, except answering your emails. Even
Yeah.
if for answering your emails, if you wanted to stitch that in a workflow that it will read an email, answer it, send it, or make sure that if it is asking for a calendar appointment, then it goes and accesses the calendar tool and creates an appointment. So even then, it's not just a one single agent.
Yeah.
So one of the things in building good agent or agentic workflows is breaking down the business process and first deciding where should AI take part, where should a human take part, and where should a software without AI take part, right? So, and once you map it out, because I see a lot of people tend to think we will replace everything with AI agents, right? That's not going to happen. You have got an enterprise workflow. Some parts of it, yes, you could probably use AI LLM agents to kind of make some decision making or reasoning or generate content, etc. But most of it are going to be the same, or going to be some other version of technology that you will be using. All you need to decide is where a human takes over, where AI takes over, where other technologies take over, and then map it through that. So once you have got the underlying primitives of the agent sorted out, so as a like memory, what are you using for memory? Are you securing your tool use capabilities? How are you using MCP, or are you using API calls? Which one is much more secure for you? And all of this, once you have sorted these things out, what matters most is how the workflow works with multiple agents rather than just single agent.
Yeah.
I think once, if you reach a point where your business, like where you use AI agents in your business process, or uh, an end user interacts with your system,
Hmm.
uh, if if they don't know at all that there is AI behind it, that's when you see success. Like, it should be seamless to the user. Like, they shouldn't be aware of what's happening in the background. Although, to caveat it, like, there are genuine use cases where you have to declare to the user that you're using AI. So let's say you're generating some image and showing it to the user on some purpose, then you have to tell them that it's AI generated.
Hmm.
So obviously, where there are like regulatory or ethical requirements that you need to declare, you have to declare that you're using AI. But for a business process, usage of AI should be seamless to the user. They shouldn't be even knowing that, okay, there are agents working in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. And give me a story here, Sandipan, where what's an AI agent you have seen that actually surprised you, something that made you think, okay, this is how it should be done.
Yeah. So I think the first time I had this aha moment with AI agents is when I actually saw a customer use case, and it's not a customer that I was working with. I saw it online somewhere, and so basically, it was a fleet management system where there is a workflow where if you have got vehicles in your fleet and there's some problem with the vehicle, I don't know, the brake doesn't work and things like that.
Wow.
Then the sensors detect it. The sensors send the information to some sort of system in the background. That system registers that. It calls out for a technician. The technician arrives, whatever, 2 days after, and scans a QR code. And then
Mhm.
workflow kicks off again. System uses agents to guide the technician on the issue. It gives the technician instructions on how to resolve that issue. And then once the technician has resolved the issue, it updates the database that issue has been resolved, and the car or the
Mhm.
vehicle is ready to move again, or go back to the fleet again.
Wow.
And all of these things without any user interaction except the technician coming and scanning the QR code to, because in a workflow, it's never going to be continuous. It has to be like, okay, you detected a problem in the vehicle, you
Mhm.
registered it, and you call for a technician. Technician cannot magically appear at that moment, right? So you have to like wait for 2 days for their appointment and things like that. The workflow stops there, but there is another way of kicking it off, and then the workflow starts from there and does a lot of things. And there are many other things that, so they describe what AI does in each of these. So that you have got this anomaly detection where the sensor detects something and it sends there. Again, it's not only LLM or generative AI, it's also traditional machine learning models that take part.
Right.
There is this human taking part. There is this generative AI LLM agents taking part, and there are like your traditional workflows taking part in the whole system. And when it runs end to end, you don't even know that there are LLM agents running in the background. Is what creates the magic, right? And
Yeah.
this, when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. This is not chat GPT, like someone is going and chatting. It's like
Yeah.
complete business workflow being automated, and it's not just AI agents doing the whole thing. It's like traditional ML, and in all the other processes that you will normally see in an enterprise workflow still
Right.
takes, right. So I think that's when I it kind of clicked to me. Okay, now I understand how businesses will work with agentic workflows in the future. It's not just everything will be replaced by AI agents. It's just there are some points in the workflow where you might be
Need it.
comfortable to handing it over to an LLM agent.
Absolutely. That's insane. I mean, so was it surprising because of the technical design or because of the business outcome it unlocked?
I think the business outcome, right? So, I mean, obviously, from the technical point of view, it kind of sounded obvious to me, right? So, okay, this is how it's going to do. But till I saw that, right, my interpretation about AI agents and all of these things were, okay, you have some conversational agent where you converse with it, and it will throw some sort of content back at you, whether it's text or image or whatever. Most of the use cases I was working at that time where you issue a command to the chatbot, and the chatbot will come back to, and then it will convert to SQL, query the database, and come back with the result, and all of those things, right? And I was totally immersed in all of these things and the RAG architecture and things like that, and I was not looking at the big picture. But when I saw that, it kind of showed me whole picture. Like that's when agentic workflows came in. Anthropic wrote that blog on agentic workflows, the different patterns in there and things like that. And that's when I saw that, and I was like, it clicked to me. Okay, it's not just this. This is what is possible, right?
Yeah.
And then I started creating my own ideas around agentic workflows and started sharing on LinkedIn. Okay, this can be done.
Yeah.
This is how it can be done. These are the things that we could do. And these are all ideas, but I think I clearly see that that's how enterprises are going to work in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, the most fascinating here, the agent you explained about, it feels invisible. It blends so well into the workflow that people forget it's even AI. It's powered by LLM. It's fascinating. Yeah. So you talk about bridging strategy with deep take. When a business leader comes to you with some vague AI vision, how do you translate that into a technical decision?
Yeah, I think I talked about it. So basically, I just ask simple questions around what is your main problem? What is that one problem that you want to solve in the next 3 months, where your boss is going to pay you for it? Like they're going to sponsor this project, because a lot of these projects die if you don't get sponsorship from your execs. And so you are always looking for projects where there will be some sort of sponsorship that you can rally around and provide some outcome. So that's one thing, like solving the top pain point for them. And then when they talk about that pain point, I tell them, okay, forget about technology. Tell me about your business. What is that? And they will say that, hey, I cannot really identify which customer is watching my content, where are they dropping off, and all of these things, right? So they will probably talk about, let's say it's an OTT platform, for example, right? And they want to do some customer segmentation analytics and all of those things. And then you start, I don't use these technical jargons at that point, right? I just basically ask, what is the problem? Tell me. And then they will just tell me that I cannot identify when a customer dropped off from my content. Like, did they drop off on the beginning or in the middle or at the end? And then that becomes a problem statement. And I'm like, okay, why is it a big problem for you? How much money are you losing for it? And things like that. And they will come with some of these answers. And the reason I do that is because I'm collecting data on, if I had to take this use case and create that slice where they have to do the data layer and the AI layer and the governance layer and which teams will work with on this particular use case, what should be the application interface and stuff like that. So I basically collect all of the stories and then start connecting to what the technical layer would be like. So, and then I talk about, okay, let's talk about data foundation. So you can't track your customer. Have you got customer data in place? Have you got any system in place where you can see where customers drop off from the content? Or you have the system, maybe you're not collecting the data, or you even don't know where the data resides. There can be different problems. It's basically working backwards from that one top pane and dissecting it without thinking about technology, and then finding out how you connect to each of these sub problems within the big problems through different layers of technology, and then come up with the roadmap on, okay, if you want to achieve this outcome, this is how you need to go about.
Yeah.
This is what you can achieve in the next 3 months, next 6 months, next 1 year, and then give them the roadmap, and then help them implement it.
Yeah, 100%. Instead of asking what's your AI vision, what's the KPI you are losing sleep over, and I think that grounds the take decision faster.
Yeah, yeah. You look at the metrics that they need to achieve,
Yeah.
and then kind of scope it down to the narrowest possible slice that you can implement in short time, so that you can prove value and see how you can iterate on it to scale.
Yeah. And as you said, we should not bring AI into the picture unless we desperately need that one. But now everyone talking about LLMs, GPT-4, and a couple of days back, Claude of Sonnet 4.5 has come into the picture. But when you are advising enterprises, how do you actually choose these LLMs, model selection? How do you do that one?
Yeah, so basically there needs to be an LLM evaluation piece where the business would collect some test data, golden data sets, to use a jargon, and they use these data sets against different LLMs. So you run it against different LLMs and capture metrics on latency, cost, performance, accuracy, etc. Again, what I see is that there are different factors that define how enterprises would choose a model. One of the main factors is that the enterprise might have some strategic partnership with one of the AI labs. Someone might be like Microsoft customer, and they might be having open AI partnerships and things like that. They will say, "Oh, we will use open AI models." That's one of the like cases where it's not the technology, but it's a strategic decision. But when it comes to technology, you will not find one enterprise using just one model. There will be different models for different use cases. The important thing is you do the evaluation of LLMs at one phase where you choose that, okay, this is a model where we need to go for this particular use case. But you also have something in place that does that check in an ongoing basis, maybe every 3 months or whenever a new version of that model comes in, because you see that when a model gets upgraded, so for example, GPT-4 became GPT-5 or Claude 4.5, it's not necessary that the upgraded model will perform better on your use case.
Yeah.
You saw that when GPT-5 came up, a lot of people using GPT-4 started complaining, right?
Yeah.
So what that means is that you have to have an evaluation architecture, or you have to have evaluation embedded in your architecture that can do that ongoing check to understand that, hey, the model changed. If you change the model, does it actually give us better ROI?
Right.
If it does, then you can easily change that. And if it doesn't, then you don't change, or you move on to another model, right? So you need to have that evaluation baked into your operations.
Absolutely. That's a great point where we need to have an evaluation based on our use case. And do you think enterprises moving towards smaller domain specific LLMs which we can fine tune on private data, or is it more APIs, foundation model thing?
Mostly APIs. There are some genuine use cases where you'll need to fine tune models, like especially in finance and very niche or regulated. So regulated environments, or there are like you need some sort of is very niche in terms of a domain like a medical or clinical domain where you need those terms and jargons which probably a generic LLM wouldn't have or wouldn't know. In those cases, a fine-tuned model works better. A lot of enterprises will start with a generic LLM, build the infrastructure, and then at one point they will realize, okay, we have used RAG, we have used a lot of these things, but now we need to fine-tune. But again, a lot of I see in my conversations, a lot of people tend to confuse between RAG and fine-tuning and think that one can replace another, but it can be a very
Different.
complementary. Like you can use both a fine-tuned model and retrieval augmented generation, in a particular workflow.
Yeah, but those two are totally different. I mean, fine tune is comparatively very expensive
Yes.
as RAG. What's your take on here?
Yeah. So obviously, fine-tuning is an expensive exercise, right? And it comes with risks like model forgetting, that the model might forget its existing knowledge, the base
Right.
model, basically, right? And then it's an expensive exercise because it's not only you using a huge compute to train a fine-tuned model, but it's also you bringing in the data and making sure the data is of quality, and all of those efforts go into that. And you will probably it's probably not a one time thing, like you have to go do that in an ongoing basis as
Yeah.
data changes and you get new data sets, and then you need to feed that into the fine-tuned model and things like that, so you need to keep training it, so it becomes expensive, whereas RAG is where you basically use external data to feed into the
Yeah.
model rather than retraining the base model, so obviously it's cheaper. So if you do not absolutely need a fine-tuned model, which you will need if you wanted the model to have your brand's personality, or you wanted to embed your brand's messaging within that model's weights. If you don't need that, you can go and use RAG for real-time access to external data, giving it some messaging guidelines through your RAG pipeline, and that would still work. But I have seen that in some advanced or niche use cases that doesn't really work. So that's when they make a decision of fine tuning models.
Absolutely. I have so many questions, Sandipin, and it's really flowing like a coffee chat, but we have a time constraint. So I'm just going to wrap this up with the last question. If you had a magic wand and could fix one thing about how the industry approaches AI implementation, what would you change?
Yes. So I would really change two things. First of all is all of this AI is power will not work if our power is not green. So I would think about how we can use more green energy for compute, because AI needs huge amount of compute, and I don't think we are doing a justice to the planet if we are not thinking about how these compute are powered with renewable energy. So if I had a magic wand, I will just convert all of these energy sources to green renewable sources.
Yeah.
The other is when we talk about specific enterprise implementation, one of the things that I'd want to do is erase the thinking of, oh, AI is going to solve my problem. Start thinking from, where do we actually need to use AI, or even start with the question, why do we actually need AI, right? And start from there and work. And that is a very common problem that I observe with everyone, that because AI is in hype and everyone thinks, okay, this is an AI project, so we need to go and start with working with AI. But you end up realizing that, oh, we probably don't actually need AI to solve this problem.
Absolutely, 100%. And this is a great advice. As we have been talking about, at first think about the problem statement, break it down, chunk it down, and then think how you can bring AI into the workflows. Great. So, last quick question. Are you a coffee person, tea person, or just running on AWS scale cloud energy?
I used to be a tea person, but
Okay.
now I am a coffee person. In India, we generally drink tea, right? Nowadays, I see a lot of like coffee culture in India, but when
Yeah.
we grew up, we just drank tea, right?
Yeah.
And when I was in Canada,
Mhm.
I think I was still drinking tea at that time. My coffee obsession has happened in the last decade, where I would go to the office and grab black coffee in the morning. Although England is a a tea country,
Yeah.
I think coffee is much more prevalent here, and then I became one of those victims.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In US is more about coffee, but I love those little tea events in London. Santivan, this has been such a great conversation, a way more educational, I would say. My big takeaway is enterprise AI is not just about models, LLMs, and AI. It's about infrastructure, trust, and hands-on learning, as you are
Absolutely.
doing with your own community. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Thank you so much for coming here.
No, thank you for having me, and I wish you all the best with your podcast. And yeah, let's keep in touch and keep talking about
Absolutely.
the cutting through the AI noise.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.